Hey, what's happening, you fresh frillish? Coming at you with my perfect order set review and buy list. A little bit late on this one. Try and be a little bit more prompt on the future set review slash buy list videos. Take a look at the full set, and I'll be calling out, of course, those cards specifically that I have added to my buy list as well, and what counts I've added them to my buy list at. Kind of break that down a little bit, and that'll be in the description below as well if you just want the full list of cards that I'm going to be personally going out of my way picking up from this set down in the description. The first card to talk about and the first card on my buy list is the Spinarak. It's got that gooey thread attack here for a single grass energy, 10 damage during your opponent's next turn. The defending Pokemon can't retreat. We have so many different your opponent's active Pokemon can't retreat options currently available to us in the standard format, in the post-rotation format. We've got another one here, and this one is specifically different than some of the rest. It's got 1 retreat cost, which is nice. It also has 60 HP, so you can buddy puffin for it. And then its attack, of course, costs a grass energy. A lot of them do cost colorless energy. And then it is, of course, you know, the damage is from a grass Pokemon, so if you're attacking into something with grass resistance, you would do 0 damage, as opposed to something like the Yveltal or one of the Stunfisks or the Sudowoodo or, you know, any of the other retreat lock Pokemon. If that aren't grass type, you would be doing damage, but you could trap something like, I don't know, a Genesect EX in some metal deck. Of course, Golden Go rotates, so that's going to be out of the question, but I'm sure there's other metal decks that'll be around in the future. So put the Spinarak on the buy list as a 2 of. The Ariados did not quite make the buy list, but its attack is interesting, to be honest. It's got that Poison Circle attack for a single grass, 50 damage. Your opponent's active is now poisoned. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Another retreat lock Pokemon, and I could see this is like I was like torn on adding to the Ariados to the buy list or not, because if you already include the Spinarak in a deck as a retreat lock option, I could see you also playing an Ariados to actually retreat lock, but then like KO the Pokemon more aggressively with the Poison Circle. Didn't quite put it on the buy list. I don't think that would ever come up where you'd want that, but yeah, I almost added the Ariados to the buy list. Up next, we have got, gonna scroll for a little while here, I think. There's the Pavilion here with the Big Wings ability to not make its way into the buy list. Once on your turn, you may have your opponent shuffle their hand and put all of those cards on the bottom of their deck, and then they draw 4 cards. It is on a stage 2. It is grass, so it works with Force of Vitality, of course. I think it will synergize with the Decidueye EX well, but the Decidueye EX also did not make its way onto my buy list. If Decidueye had made it onto my buy list, I probably would have added the Pavilion, but because it didn't, neither did the Pavilion. But I think it'll still be a cool deck to build and try out once Perfect Order drops. If your opponent has exactly 4 cards in their hand, ignore all colorless in this Pokemon's attack cost. For grass triple colorless, you do 240 damage. Discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. But of course, the coolest part about the Decidueye EX is that Dartrix actually, for 3 colorless energy, discard all energy attached to this Pokemon. Choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. This attack does 90 damage to that Pokemon. So of course, we can use Relicanth to get access to our previous evolution's abilities, and then utilize the ability of Decidueye EX to then use those attacks, the Phaser Shot, or I guess the Tackle. If you can use Phaser Shot, I don't know why you're using Tackle from Rowlet, but if you want to, you could, I guess. And then, of course, we could use something like Pavilion to constantly reset our opponent's hand to 4 to gain access to the free attacks of the Dartrix and almost free attack of the Crush Arrow. It is grass triple colorless, so we will have to play a grass energy. And besides playing Pavilion or Judge to get our opponent's hand size down to 4, you could also play Ignition Energy in this deck as well and utilize that for the triple attack cost, of the Decidueye or the Dartrix. Up next, we have the Talonflame. So 4/4 Fletchinder and Talonflame are on the buy list. I actually think the Talonflame is just kind of good as a disruption slash deck out win condition here. Once in your turn, you may flip a coin. If heads, your opponent discards a random card from their hand. So you could set up 3 or 4 of these and be flipping 3 to 4 coins a turn, discarding cards from our opponent's hand. And the best part about a card like this is it is not our attack for turn. It doesn't require any use of like our supporter for turn. So the rest of our turn, the rest of the deck, besides the cards in the deck to set up the Talonflame, can be built around disrupting our opponent. Crushing Hammers, what is the fan tool card called? Whatever that's called, put that on your active Badoo, Gemstone, Retreat Lock Pokemon, and then just All while we're doing all that, we're flipping coins with the Sky Hunt, discarding cards from our opponent's hand. I don't know. It seems pretty good to me, and it's not limited to like a single win condition as well. That's what I like so much about the Talonflame is we could be a retreat lock deck, we could be an energy control deck, we could be an item lock deck, we could be all of those together in one, and then our overall inevitable win condition is decking out our opponent through the Sky Hunt of the Talonflame. So I'm really excited to try this card out. I think it's got a lot of potential, and it'll work really well with any disruptive cards that come out in the future as well. It's not just limited to the current card pool, or like it's one of those cards that is like less limited to the current card pool than most, I would say, I guess. Because like when they print like a bunch of fighting cards in a set, we know for a while we're not going to get probably a bunch of new fighting cards for a long time, but Talonflame can work with any little disruption card that comes out in future sets, and there's always some stuff making its way out there. And I could see playing this without Rare Candy at all, just taking your time to set up manually to your Talonflames from evolving turn after turn. So I did put the Talonflame and Fletchinder on the buy list as a 4/4, and then I guess I put the basic on there as a 4 as well, the Fletchling also on the buy list. Up next, I got the Turtonator. Same vein as the Talonflame, just good disruption Pokemon with its ability. When this Pokemon takes damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, while it's in the active spot, discard an energy from the attacking Pokemon. Once again, combo with that. What is the fan? What is the name of the fan tool card? The tool card where when you're attacked, you move an energy from the active to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Put that on a Turtonator. You're discarding an energy. You're moving an energy. Sure, they get a prize card, but maybe that's disruptive enough to give yourself time for your Talonflame to continue to discard cards from their hand. Who knows? But yeah, 2 of the Turtonator onto that buy list as well. It's got an attack, of course. Fire, colorless, heat, breath, 80. Flip a coin of heads. This attack does 80 more damage, but not very impressive. Up next, we got the Dewgong, which also made its way onto the buy list. Now, the Dewgong in the current card pool isn't that impressive in terms of what you could play it with, but the ability is just kind of good. Of course, people have kind of shouted this thing out as a combo with Spite Ops, the Team Rocket Spite Ops. Of course, it wouldn't be a full Team Rocket deck at that point, but that's not a bad thing per se. As often as you like during your turn, you may move a water energy from your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon. So obviously, this works really, really well with cards that could generate water energy into play. And you don't want to do it with something that could kind of generate infinite energy onto a Pokemon, because then why would you play this when you could just put all that energy on a Pokemon? Something like Baxcalibur. Now, Baxcalibur does rotate, so that's not going to be an option, obviously. But even if there was like, if this was like worked for fire energy, if you're playing it with Incineroar, just use Incineroar to put your fire energy where you want them. You don't need Dewgong to move them around at that point, obviously. Or even if it was just limited to accelerating energy to the bench, once again, you wouldn't want to put Dewgong with that. But Dewgong works really, really well with cards that can generate energy into play, something like the Team Rocket Spite Ops or something in the future. So yeah, Dewgong, it's got a good ability. I don't see it being in any meta deck for probably the next 2 sets. We've seen a decent amount of cards that come out in the next set. Currently, for Perfect Order, doesn't look like it's going to have a good partner. Next set doesn't look like it's going to have a good partner, but it's just a good ability. So on the buy list at a 4/3 for Seel. Unfortunately, that 80 HP means you can't Poffin for it. And then we've got 3 Dewgong. Yeah, 4/3 on the buy list. So for the Dewgong line. Up next, we got the Mega Starmie EX. I did put it on my buy list, but I don't think Mega Starmie is going to be its own deck. We saw it have like a decent amount of success initially on release over in Japan, but I think that was just kind of people being unprepared for it, probably being overly played, and I don't think as its own deck it's great. I think as a inclusion, as like a 1/1 or a 2/2, a secondary attacker, because it is so efficient. That first attack, the Jet Blow for a single water, 120, 50 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, is pretty solid. You can get that up and running no problem on that second turn, or even the first turn if you include something like Salvatore. And then triple colorless, Nebula Beam, 210. This attack's damage isn't affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So a nice shred attack there, which you won't want to be using. You're going to be wanting to use that Jet Blow, of course. But I said it's a good secondary attacker to include in decks, so I don't think it's going to be its own thing in the future. I think that it had its moment on initial release in Japan, and of course we don't get to experience that because our set comes out so much later, but still going to be solid in the future at some point in some kind of deck that plays water energy, or even like, I guess Luminous rotates, right? Maybe some kind of rainbow energy in the future, who knows. But I think it'll make its way back around to being meta relevant, and a lot of it will probably come down to, is Shaman popular? Is there a reason for Shaman to be popular? And if there's not, that's when you could include something like a Starmie EX in your deck, because Shaman's pretty tough for it to deal with it. Up next, we got the Aurorus here. Did not make its way into the buy list. I think I just don't know for sure that we're going to get support for fossils or not. I think that's what these fossil cards are missing. Actually, I think the Tyrantrum and the Aurorus are pretty good in terms of the stats on the cards, but they're a stage 2 Pokemon that evolves from fossils, so that's just kind of too much to overcome in the current landscape of the Pokemon TCG. Not like specifically format, not specifically the format or specifically the meta, but like the landscape of the game. I think it's too much to overcome. Now, if they do give us some fossil support in the future, I would definitely take another look at these cards, but because, of course, we have no idea if that'll ever happen, we can only kind of work with what we know. I think it's a little bit different for something like the Dewgong, where it's like a lot more flexible of a card. This card is 100% reliant on specifically fossil support. Dewgong is just reliant on some kind of water energy support. So you guys can understand why I would include something like the Dewgong on the buy list versus something like the Aurorus not making its way to the buy list. While this Pokemon is in play, all of your Pokemon that have any water energy attached will take 50 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. This ability does not stack, but it is a very powerful ability. Minus 50 damage is quite a bit of minus damage. Maybe even combo with that with some healing. That could be pretty good. His attack's not bad either. Water colorless 150 during your opponent's next turn. The defensive one can't attack. We got a Volcanion here. Powerful Steam water colors. 90 damage times flip a coin for each water energy attached to this Pokemon. This attack does 90 damage for each head. So this is something you could pair with the Dewgong to make like some kind of meme deck if you wanted to. Once again, and not on the buy list. But yeah, that could be something. We do have a Luxray line here that I did put on the buy list because this Luxio was just really, really good. So I was kind of just waiting for a future Luxray, which I know is also kind of specific when I like kind of compare it to the Aurorus. But this Luxray isn't terrible, and Luxray EX is still illegal. So this deck potentially is maybe just missing a piece or two to be something. We got the Shinx here, 70 HP. You can Buddy Pop him for it. The Luxio is the main star of the show, though. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon EX, you can evolve this Pokemon on your first turn, or the first turn this Pokemon is put into play. So if you can get from a Shinx to a Luxio, or when you get to a Shinx from a Luxio, you can immediately evolve your Luxio into Luxray, which basically completely removes the necessity of something like Rare Candy, and makes it really, really easy to get into your Luxrays, because you can use stuff like Pokepad to find Luxio, where you can't use Pokepad to find Rare Candy to then Rare Candy into your Luxray. And then this Luxray specifically does 70 damage for each prize card you have taken, so it's a good closing out attacker. Luxray EX is a solid card as well for 2 colorless energy, does like 120, and you look at your opponent's hand and discard a card. That's pretty good. So I feel like this is just missing like a good early game Luxray attacker if you're not using the Luxray EX maybe, but the Luxio is so good, I just kind of had to include it on the buy list. So 442 of the Luxray line is on the buy list. Up next, we got the Mega Clefable. Going to be a cool meme deck, I think, more so than anything. Did not make its way onto the buy list. Wings of Light here prevent all effects of your opponent's abilities done to this Pokemon, so solid ability. And then for 2 Psychic Energy, Shooting Moon, 120. You may discard up to 4 energy cards from your hand. If you do, this attack does 40 more damage for each energy discarded in this way. So you're looking at a max of the 280 damage, which comes up short on KOing big EX Pokemon. Well, I guess in the format, what big EX Pokemon even exists? Charizard rotated, Guardy rotated, Dragapult's weak to, we can make it weak to Psychic with Clefairy EX. So I think you're KOing most things with that. You're really coming up short on the big Megas, though. That's what you're not getting knockouts on, is the big Mega Pokemon. So that's where it's coming up a little bit short, I guess. Clefairy as well, 70 HP. Buddy Pop him for it. Pretty cool. Up next, we have the Aromatisse, which I did put on the buy list because, once again, it's a little bit more neutral than something like the Mega Clefable. We kind of see this card's full potential. Probably not going to ever combo this with anything. This would be its standalone deck itself, and I just don't think it's quite good enough. But the Aromatisse here is something you would combo with the Mega Clefable, and I did put on the buy list as a 3/3, 3 Spritzee, 3 Aromatisse. Spritzee's got that 70 HP, of course. Buddy Poffin, that's pretty nice. 120 HP here from the Aromatisse. Once in your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 basic Psychic Energy, reveal them and put them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Attack, nothing crazy. In fact, the attacks like this just like make me wonder, like, why? Like, Psychic colorless, 50 damage, heal 30 from this Pokemon. Like, can we just give this thing like something a little bit more useful? Like, literally anything. Even, I mean, this is also pretty terrible, actually. Sweet Scent heal 30 from one of your Pokemon. That's a little, but that's still so terrible. Like, what about Psychic Energy switch to the bench? And then, I don't know, Psychic Energy, honestly, switch to the bench. Like, that would just be better than healing 30 damage. This thing, if this thing has damage on it, it's KO'd. It's KO'd for sure. So, But yeah, obviously combos well with the Mega Clefable. Put some energy recyclers in your deck. You'll be able to put a bunch of energy back in your deck, search them back out with Aromatisse, and then punch with the Mega Clefable EX. We got Wonders Patch in the format as well, so that's how you can accelerate energy to your Mega Clefables and attack with them turn after turn. But I think this is like one of those abilities where it's like I would not be surprised to see this have a home in a different deck that plays basic Psychic Energy at some point in the future. So, like I said, 3/3 Aromatisse on the buy list. Then we have the Barbaracle, which also, of course, made it onto the buy list as a 4/4. Very powerful card here. Once in your turn, you may attach a basic fighting energy from your hand to one of your fighting Pokemon. It's always nice to be able to have the flexibility of attaching to your active Pokemon. Some of these abilities, energy acceleration abilities, are limited to just the bench Pokemon. So that's going to be pretty good. Binacle, unfortunately, has that 80 HP. You will not be able to Buddy Poffin for that thing. And then there's the Tyrantrum here. Didn't make the buy list, like I said. Like the Aurorus, very limited to we need fossil support to make this work. If this Pokemon has any special energy attached to it, get 150 more HP. 330 HP is a lot of HP on a single prize Pokemon. And then Wreak Havoc, Fighting Colorless, 160, flip coin to get Tails. For each hedge, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. The attack, we're 2-hit KOing most things. Megas, we're coming up short on that 2-hit KO, though. Not quite 2-hit KOing Megas. Might have to put some damage modifiers there. And we're mostly, I feel like, putting the pressure on our opponent's deck more so than the prize race by discarding the top card of our opponent's deck. You know, we get some lucky turns, 5 heads, stuff like that. I think we're relying on that a little bit more. And then I did put the Mega Zygarde EX on the buy list. This one I was a little bit unsure if I wanted to put it there, but it does have like a pretty complete package, I feel like, in terms of options. You got the Gaia Wave, 3 fighting, 200 during your opponent's like turn. This Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. And then the Nullifying 0 for 5 fighting energy. For each of your opponent's Pokemon, flip a coin. This attack does 150 damage to that Pokemon if you get heads. That is pretty insane potential on a card. You know, our opponent loads up their bench, we hit some heads. Yada, yada, yada. I'm going to scroll down and take a look at the core memory while we're talking about Zygarde here. For 4 fighting, 350. That's KOing most things. Are kind of a little bit short on some of the Megas, but not all of them. Discard all energy from this Pokemon. Also pretty good. So like I said, you got the 1-hit KO potential. You have like a crazy... The most powerful attack on this card is by far the spread attack, the Nullifying 0. But you have the 1-hit KO potential attack. And you have like a little bit more of like a neutral... Well, I might as well do something for my turn attack with that 200 damage. I don't know. I feel like there's something here with the Mega Zygarde. Maybe initially after rotation, we're maybe not going to see it from it. From what we've seen from Japan, it's definitely not there for the Mega Zygarde. But I wouldn't be shocked if in the future we see it have its place at some point. The potential of Nullifying 0 just seems kind of crazy. I feel like we'll see it pop off at some point. Got a Gengar here, which I think is really cool. I don't think there's the competitive... potential here for the Gengar, so it did not make its way into the buy list, but I'm excited to try this card out with Mega Gengar. If this Pokemon will be knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, instead of discarding it, return it to your hand. Discard all other cards attached to this Pokemon that are not Pokemon. So you discard probably just your energy here. But this card's cool because when comboed with the Mega Gengar, it becomes an effective 0 prize Pokemon if it's KO'd by a Pokemon EX, and then you return the whole Gengar line to your hand. So in terms of efficiently being able to chain Gengars turn after turn after turn, that makes it pretty easy to do. So I'm pretty excited to try this card out with the Mega Gengar, of course, because they just have both evolved from the same line of the Ghastlies and Haunters. I think you'd probably have to maybe get a ticket involved that interacts with your prize cards, because finding like your 4th Ghastly specifically would be a pretty big deal. I don't know if you'd want to run Rare Candy or not, or if you just evolve up through the Haunters, because that'd be a pretty big part of your chaining of your Gengars. But either way, I'm pretty excited for this card. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be competitive, but as a fun deck, it seems pretty sick to me. I'm excited. Moving right along, the Yveltal is terrible. Don't ask about the Yveltal. We got the Mega Skarmory. Made its way onto the buy list as just a one-of. It's a cool attacker for metal decks, especially with Metang, probably more so than anything. I guess Metagross maybe, but Sonic Ripper, Metal Colors, shuffle all energy from this Pokemon into your deck. This attack does 220 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Meowth, Pheasantipity, those are it. But that's what you're going to be sniping with this thing to either close out games or just get a prize advantage in the mid game as well. Pretty powerful Pokemon if you're playing a metal deck with some energy acceleration. Like if you're playing a Metang deck, you're probably always including this. Same thing with like a Metagross, Steven's Metagross deck, although I don't think Steven's Metagross is great. You probably want a Mega Skarmory in there as well. Another card that looks pretty cool, but kind of in the same vein as the Gengar, I don't think it's going to be competitive, is that Doublade. 2 colorless energy. You may reveal any number of Haunage, Doublade, and Aegislash from your hand. This attack does 60 damage for each you revealed. The damage potential with this card is kind of crazy, to be honest. Now, it does take 2 colorless energy, so you need 2 energy to attack each turn. So something like the Metang will probably have to get involved to fuel the energy cost of this card. But I don't know. This seems kind of cool. It seems like kind of cool. Once again, it seems like one of those more meme style decks. I don't want to call them non-competitive, but like still cool decks. What is the name for that? Because calling them like meme decks feels a little bit like this feels like more than a meme deck, but it's not competitive. I don't know, it's in that, you know, area. But yeah, Genesect obviously very good with this because it finds all your evolutions, your Aegislash, your Doublades finds. You'll probably need to play Metang, so it finds your Metangs. Super good synergy there. The Haunage can be found with Buddy Poffin along with your Beldum. So yeah, going to be a cool deck for sure. Moving right along here. We're skipping the Raticate. We're getting to the Meowth EX. Going to be a big card. It's going to be played in a lot of decks, if not all decks that are competitive moving forward. There'll probably be very few decks that don't play this. Once in your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may use this ability, search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Insane early game, mid game, late game, situational supporter finding, and just overall consistency for a deck. You play 4 Ultra Ball. That means every Ultra Ball could just be any supporter you wanted that's in your deck. That's pretty good. 3 colorless energy, Tuck Tail, 60 damage. Put this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your hand. This made its way onto the buy list as a 4 of. We've already been seeing some decks in Japan playing 4 Meowth EX. I don't think there'll be a ton of them playing 4. So I think the safest number would be like 2 Meowth EX if you just want to pick up 2. But I would not be shocked to see a decent amount of competitive decks play 3. The 4 of will probably be a little bit more rare. The only deck I think we've seen for sure so far has been like the Raging Bolt builds. Some of the Raging Bolt builds over in Japan have been running it. But I could definitely see, I think we definitely will see throughout this card's lifetime multiple decks that play 4 Meowth EX. But a 2 to 3 count, having that on hand is a pretty safe number. As well. Here is the Fletchling for the Talonflame. It's got actually a really good attack. It's got that chirp here. Search your deck for 2 Pokemon with fighting resistance. So it's not just limited to getting the evolutions of the Fletchling, but you could also get some other stuff with that for a single colorless energy as well. And 60 HP works with that Buddy Poffin. Keep going here. Oh, actually the Furfrou here. Oh, this is actually a card I didn't add to my buy list. And it definitely should be. Someone actually mentioned this to me after I already went through everything. This should actually be on the buy list as a 1 of. Discard random cards from your opponent's hand until they have 5 cards in their hand for a single colorless energy. So this would be used similarly how people use Xerosic as a card in certain matchups, where Xerosic isn't really a win condition card in many matchups besides Alakazam, where it's like when you find it, you play it. You usually need to play other cards that kind of stop your opponent from playing the game, or you need a board state to arise where you and your opponent are basically both draw passing. And just like how Xerosic can kind of be a tiebreaker in those situations, this card could also be, but it's a Pokemon, so you can use Pokemon search cards to find it. You could use Night Stretcher to recover it and use it multiple times in a game. So this would be a pretty good counter probably to Alakazam in general. Moving forward, probably better than Xerosic because it's a little bit easier to find and utilize throughout a game multiple times. So this will be an interesting one. Yeah, 1 of on the buy list. And then, like I said, moving forward, also in weird situations where you need a tiebreaker card, where you and your opponent both don't want to attack for whatever reason. Your opponent has a lot of Monkey Doors, you have a lot of Monkey Doors, so neither of you want to give the other player damage, but you both can't take one-hit KOs, stuff like that. Things like Absol Mirrors or like Zorg versus Absol is where we've seen it most recently, not like in the current Ascended Heroes format, but prior to that. So definitely worth having around. We talked about the core memory. I didn't add the fossils to the buy list, of course, because I didn't put their evolutions on the buy list. We got the Energy Swatter here, which like I almost put on the buy list, but I decided not to. It's like probably just not good enough, to be honest. Your opponent reveals their hand, choose an energy card you find there, and put it on the bottom of your opponent's deck. It's such a low value card. It is extremely low value. I just can't see this thing ever actually being played. Similar to the whole Digging Shovel, discard the top 2 cards of your deck. That's it. An item card that literally just mills yourself. Also did not make its way into the buy list. But I honestly would not be shocked I just think there's nothing in the format right now that I think you'd ever play this in. The only argument I could see would be Ceruledge, but just play more Drillburs and like more energy so you draw into them more often, I think is probably the better thing to do there. Up next, we got a supporter card. Heal 150 damage for one of your psychic Pokemon. It's a lot of healing. Sure, it's a supporter, but yeah. And for all trainer cards on my buy list, I would just add them as 4-ofs, so. And I feel like actually in this set, more so than anything, there's a lot of trainers I'm not putting on my buy list because I just don't think they're worth it, or they're reprints. Crushing Hammer gets reprinted. Energy Search gets reprinted. Judge gets reprinted. Lumio City is a bad card. I cannot see. Okay, there's one situation where I could see this being good. So once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto their bench. Then that player shuffles their deck. If a player uses the effect, their turn ends. So you get to spend your turn or the end of your turn. You don't attack. You go get a Pokemon, a basic Pokemon from your deck, and your turn ends. The only way I could see this being included in a deck is if we eventually get like some basic Pokemon with an ability that says like once during your turn, search your deck for a stadium. And it's like a pre-evolution to the main attacker in the deck, which evolves. Otherwise, I just don't. It is just so low value. Because sure, like turn 1, if you go first, even turn 1 if you go second, it's like, okay, that's good. But why would you want to include a stadium in your deck that if you don't find it turn 1, it's terrible? And you're definitely not going to play 4 of them because that's so low value. Like, yeah, this card is just like, maybe they have a plan for it though. Maybe there is some kind of card like that with like a basic with an ability that says search your deck for a stadium. So like turn 1 going first, you put it in play and you search for this, and then turn 2 you search for a different stadium. And I mean, that'd be pretty cool. I think that the idea of that's pretty cool, but this card sucks. This card is so bad. Lumiose Galette, heal 20 damage, 1 special condition from your active Pokemon on the buy list. Naveen, I didn't really want to add this to the buy list. It is such a low quality draw supporter, but we are in a current format, or looking forward to a current format with not that many great options for draw supporter. So Naveen is on the buy list. Discard any number of cards from your hand, then draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. Pokeball got reprinted. Pokepad we already saw in Ascended Heroes. That was in my Ascended Heroes buy list. I mean, if you want 4 perfect order Pokepads, go for that. Rosa's Encouragement, pretty powerful card here. You can only use this card if you have more prize cards than your opponent. That's 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile to one of your stage 2 Pokemon. On the buy list, of course, Tarragon, also pretty powerful. Put up to 4 in a combination of fighting Pokemon and basic fighting energy from your discard pile into your hand. Super strong with Barbaracle, very good card. And then for the special energies, of course, all of them are 4-ofs. Some of them a little bit weaker than others. Growing Grass Energy, plus 20 HP to the grass Pokemon it's attached to. Not terrible. Fighting Energy here. Prevent all effects of attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to the fighting Pokemon this card is attached to. Also not terrible. Very situational, though. Going to be very meta-specific, matchup-specific, where you'd want to maybe include this in a certain format. And then Telepathic Energy, sure, a broken special energy card in comparison to the rest. And we've also seen a couple more coming out in the next set, and like in comparison, this thing is just so much worse. When you attach this card from your hand to one of your psychic Pokemon, you may search your deck for 2 basic psychic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Not even like non-rule box, just like any psychic Pokemon. You want Latios? Sure. You want Mega Diancie? Sure. Like, just a disgusting card, to be honest. Like, it's so good. Of course, 4-of on the buy list. And that's it. That is my set review and buy list breakdown for Perfect Order. Let me know what you think. Any cool combinations you're looking forward to with these cards. I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff to play with. Even if competitive-wise, things might still be a little bit stale. Dragapult seems pretty good. Yeah, let me know. Comment section down below. Is there anything else I should have included on my buy list? Or do you think there's something I shouldn't have included on my buy list? Do you think I went too far with one of my inclusions? Let me know. Comment section, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.